PodcastOne presents the Steve Austin Show Classics.
Yeah, you know, we're back with Bruce Pritchard. Hey, Bruce, now you've been in the business, what, 40 years?
40 years.
Man, let's talk about ribs. And I ain't talking about barbecue ribs. Ladies and germs, a lot of times when guys go down the road, they just want to play a joke on another guy just to kill the time or to get a laugh. Some guys ribbed just kind of playfully. Some guys ribbed unmercifully. Some guys ribbed to piss people off and to strike a nerve, get even, or fuck somebody over. What are some of the classic all-time ribs you've seen in this business, Bruce?
You know what? I'll tell you one that it was kind of a mean rib, but it was, I guess it was funny to those who did it. But it was like, you know, Jim Ross would always, Jim took himself very seriously when he came up to WWE. And at one point, we were on the road. I don't remember where the hell we were, other than the second night we were in Lowell, Massachusetts, and Jim was living in Wilton and everything. And we were all sitting in a Denny's, and JR pulls up, and he's in his own car, in his personal vehicle, and he left the car running with keys in it. Came inside and was talking to us and everything. Well, while he was talking to us, somebody went out and took his keys out of his car. Now they're expecting JR to walk out and go get in his car and realize that, hey, my car's not running anymore. Where are my keys? And to get out and look for them. And sell a little bit and come back in and go, all right, who took my keys? And everybody goes, I didn't do it. So JR leaves and goes out, gets in his car, and he sits there for a minute. And you see him looking around. And next thing you know, the car starts, and he pulls away. And everybody's looking at each other and looking at the person that had his keys. It's like, how the hell did he do that? You know, wait a minute. You know, here, this guy snuck out, gone to his car, taken his car keys, and had them on his person, and JR goes out, no-sells it, and drives off.
So what happened? I know he obviously had an extra spare set on him, but what happened with the other keys?
He had an extra spare set on him, okay, in his wallet. So he wasn't about to sell and put the rib over.
No.
So the next day, Lowell, Mass, and again, I did not do it.
Right.
God was my witness on my children's head. I did not do it. I don't know if JR ever believed me at that point, but I did not do it. Jim came to me and says, hey, man, he goes, look, you know, I know some of you guys ribbed me last night and everything, and took my keys, and I had a spare set in my wallet and everything. So, but the keys that they took, you know, it's got my house keys on it. It's got, you know, my office keys on it and all this other shit. And I said, Jim, I do not have your keys. Don't know what to tell you, but I do not have them. And he says, well, do you know who does have them? I said, actually, right now, because when we left, the keys were left on the table, okay? We left. So I really did not know at that point who had them. And I said, no, actually I don't. I said, I really and truly don't. I would tell you if I did. And I said, I don't. So he, I guess, made some noise about it and everything. And it was kind of shitty because it had his keys on it.
Yeah.
His house key, his office keys, and everything else, man. And he couldn't get into his house that night. So I guess the more that he no-sold it, and then I guess he promoted it, the person that did have his keys, I guess, just never gave his keys back. But that's kind of on the mean side. But it was one of those that you sat there and went, it was a double cross, because it's like, wait a minute, he didn't sell, and now he's driving away. How the fuck did that happen? But he outsmarted himself, because the fact that he double-crossed everybody, I think that pissed him off even more to say, okay, he thinks he's so smart he'll never see these keys again. And then there was the Jerry Jarrett one, where Jerry Jarrett proclaimed to the locker room that he had never been ribbed in his career.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
So then what happened?
Well, somebody might have found a padlock that padlocked his briefcase to a desk that was bolted to the floor in a high school gym. And they might have used those big chains that you can't get the bolt cutters around. and kind of did a few other things to his bag and things like that. And he called the cops.
Did he?
Yeah, he called the cops. It was funny.
I remember one time we were wrestling. I think I've told this story before. It was Norfolk at the Scope Arena, and we were having a big battle royal because there wasn't enough matches on the card in WCW. And the Steiner brothers decided they was going to strip DDP down. And, of course, you know, when the Steiner brothers decide they're going to do something, they do it because they can. All the guys are in the ring kind of watching this debacle go down in the ring because no one's going to really, you know, interfere with the rib that the Steiners are playing, or you will be ribbed by the Steiners.
There you go.
They stripped his ass down buck naked. Page grabs his gimmick, hauls ass. I don't think he worried about throwing himself over the top rope, and hauled ass to the back. But that was probably the greatest or funniest rib that I'd seen. And I just had X-Pac on here the other day, and I forgot to get the story out of him. When he superglued one of the Guns cowboy hats onto him, were you there when they did that rib?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
He put the super glue around the rim of the hat, and it just got on, and just, you know, they finally got it off. But yeah, it was kind of ugly. Ripped out his hair and stuff. I want to say it was Bart.
Hey, were you on that flight when Kurt Angle and Vince started wrestling around?
Oh God, yes.
What happened on that deal? I was up on the front of the plane drinking a bunch of wine, and all of a sudden there was a big to-do back in the middle back of the plane. Cabernet Sauvignon flying everywhere.
Oh my God!
And didn't Kurt Angle slam Vince or something like that?
Well, no. Remember, Undertaker woke up.
Well, why would Undertaker waking up have anything to do with the wrestling match?
Well, okay, because they were wrestling, man, and Vince was like trying to single leg Kurt, and Kurt's got Vince hooked, and Taker wakes up, and all he sees is Kurt on top of Vince. And he gets up and he snatches Kurt in front face lock because he just wakes up out of nowhere, hears this commotion, and it's like, oh shit! Now everybody's involved, and Taker just woke up out of a dead sleep, literally, and thinks that Kurt's beating the shit out of Vince.
Oh Jesus!
And just he slapped the front face lock on Kurt, and then everything kind of got toned down a little bit. Man,
those plane trips going back and forth from Europe used to get pretty rough. Hey, we touched on The Undertaker. Let's talk about him for a second because you come, El Paso, you're in Houston. Of course, Taker's a Houston guy. You're in WWE. Taker's being, whatever, he was in WCW. I wrestled with him one time in USWA. I think he was in the business about 2 years ahead of me. And WCW didn't know what the hell to do with him. He goes to WWF, and all of a sudden, man, that dude debuts as The Undertaker, and it was really a lights-out, scary gimmick. And you were actually his first manager.
Yep.
Well, how was that? How did that all happen? Did you know Mark prior to his WWF days?
I did not, but I watched him in World Class, and I was always a big fan of Don Jardine, the spoiler.
Right.
And Mark would walk the ropes,
right,
like Don Jardine did. And I thought, wow, that big son of a bitch is an agile guy. And I just became a fan of his, really.
Yeah. And
Paul Heyman called me, and Paul was managing him in WCW. And Paul said, hey, man, he goes, this guy, Mark, hell of a talent, hell of a guy. You guys, he would really do good up there, and he's really unhappy down here. And I thought, oh, shit, I watched him from when he broke in Dallas and everything. And I always thought that Don Jardine had trained him, but that wasn't the case, And so we talked a little bit, and I talked to Vince about him, and Vince just looked at him and thought he was a big, tall, red-headed basketball player. And didn't see a whole lot in him. He wanted Sid. He wanted, Sid at the time. Right.
Vince gets his, mindset on something, that's what he wants.
And so Mark had come up, and they had a show in the Meadowlands, and I just begged Vince. I said, would you please just meet this guy? I said, I don't know him from Adam. I've talked to him. He seems like a real nice guy. I said, but he's a hell of a talent. I mean, you watch his stuff and everything, and he's a big bastard, unique look, and, Let's meet him. At least, he fit the size profile.
Right.
Big bastard, right?
Right. And it was a big man territory back then. It was great to be a big guy. Yeah. It always is in the pro wrestling business. Okay, so this meeting's going to go down.
So, but I had the idea of I wanted a really dark, evil character to manage. And I was like, hey, put him with me. Because I didn't know if he could talk or not. He always had a manager.
Right.
And I said, and Heyman had even said, he goes, I don't know how his promos are or anything like that. I said, oh, perfect, man. Give me somebody that can't talk.
Yeah.
So I pitched this really dark character to be the black to my white. But long story short, man, Vince met him, and, as Mark, he's just a class guy and a good guy, and I think Vince saw that right away and loved the idea and came up with Undertaker, and shit, the rest is history, man.
So who came up with the Undertaker gimmick?
I want to say that was probably Vince, because I was like, I wanted this black. I came up with the name Kane.
Right.
Because it was the first man to ever commit murder, like Cain and Abel.
Right.
And so I'd come up with the name Kane, and then Vince was like, oh, goddamn, we're going to make him look like an old-time Undertaker, and we'll call him Kane the Undertaker. Strong name. And we eventually just dropped Kane and went with the Undertaker, man. But he was one of those guys, when he walked out, he's another one.
Oh, yeah.
When he's out there, he's Undertaker.
Yeah.
Mark don't exist. But when he walked out that first time, God, it was electric.
Dude, when he first started, it was really a scary gimmick. And, of course, everybody was selling like a sumbitch for him. But you go back and you get on YouTube and you watch those kids' faces on those first few rows, they're horrified. They're scared shitless for a shoot.
Hell yeah. Oh, okay. The true story. You talk about that for a shoot, man. Me and Mark, we're leaving Chattanooga. We're going to drive to Atlanta, all right? So we get done. Don't have time to take a shower or anything, so we take a hoarder's bath, just kind of wash our faces, and as quick as we can, we run out into the car. Mark's driving. So his face is like just pale white. And he's still got like the dark circles under his eyes and everything. He wore the purple makeup and shit.
Yeah.
I've got my face, it's like red, but I've done the best I can to clean it off. I'm in a sweatshirt and everything, and he's got his coat on, his black overcoat. We run out of the arena, and we're like hauling ass through Chattanooga. Well, we get lost. And we're in a part of town that we really
don't belong in.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so we pull into this gas station and all, and Mark's got his seat way back, okay, because he's a big, tall son of a bitch. So he's got his seat back, and it's leaned all the way back. And so he pulls up, and I roll the window down. I go, hey, man, excuse me, can you tell us how to get to whatever, this highway we're heading to Atlanta? And so this guy comes walking over to the car, and he's sauntering real slow, and he's grabbing his crotchal area and everything. And he's like, well, man, what you going to do for me? And, hey, man, what y'all got in there? And how about y'all maybe? And he stops in his tracks mid-sentence. Mark literally does the Undertaker sit-up.
Yeah.
And turns and looks at this guy, and the guy started backpedaling and almost fell down. He goes, man, what the fuck is that? That dude looks like he just killed somebody. Hey, no, listen, man, y'all need to go right down here. You're going to go down about 2 blocks. You're going to turn right. You're going to go up to the next light. You're going to turn left. That's going to put you right on the highway, man. Y'all get the fuck out of here. True story. And it was so goddamn funny because he had seen a ghost.
Yeah.
That man did the sit-up and snapped the head. And looked at him and had that white face and those dark-ass eyes. He thought, oh, my God, this son of a bitch, these motherfuckers just killed somebody, and now they're just trying to get out of the hood.
Man, I can't remember if I told this story in a long time or not. I've told it before, but one time I just came in at WWF. I might have still been the ringmaster. Maybe I was Stone Cold. And maybe I was Stone Cold. Some town, don't remember what it was. The house was mediocre. The business was what it was. And I was going to work with Taker. And, of course, I knew Mark a little bit. A tiny bit from USWA days. And so anyway, we're going to work. He's the Undertaker. All of a sudden, I'm already in the ring. The lights go down. The lighters come up. Bong, that music hits. And here comes Undertaker in slow motion, just doing that fucking slow walk he always did. So, before the match, I'm always kind of thinking about some stuff that I might want to do. A fishbone of events. Yeah, man, big guy. Maybe I'll take him down, work his leg. Man, all of a sudden, here comes the Undertaker. He's getting closer and closer. His entrance was so overwhelming, I forgot every goddamn thing I wanted to do with Mark in that match. That's a shoot. I didn't know whether to shit or wind my watch. The lights come on. He takes his shit off. They ring the bell, and we had a modified clusterfuck right then and there. But it was great, man, watching him come out, and it's like, bong. It was fucking strange. It was, I hate to use the word surreal, it was surreal.
Yeah, it was. It was just downright spooky. And he never broke character.
One time, I made him break character one time. We was over on Kuwait, and man, it was like a soul show. We went over there. We was in the same building like 5 nights in a row. One of those rich cats had bought the shows. We flew over there, bust us in. The houses were, it was a bought show. The houses were about, a third to a half full, and we did a battle royal or something like that. We spilled out on the floor. And I'd been selling on the apron. I had a little bit of heat, going as Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the Undertaker picked me up. He straightened my head up. We were both standing outside the ring. And he looked at me with that damn look. And I just popped. For some reason, I started laughing. And he actually he laughed too for about a cunt hair of a second, and then went right back into character, and he flipped his hair back. He had that long hair, and he flipped it over his face so he couldn't see him laughing. But I actually busted the Undertaker out of character one time, but I think it's the only time in the existence of that character that's happened.
Those are few and far between. That's something that you don't break.
Hey, but that's an important thing you said, back then when you were Brother Love. And when hey, man, you're not Bruce anymore, you're Brother Love. Taker, when that's time to go, he's Undertaker. Stone Cold, hey, man, Steve Austin, that nice friendly cat, don't exist. Yep. If you had to look at what's going on in the landscape of today, whether it's WWE, TNA, whatever, what do you say to some of these people who haven't quite been able to put a finger on or define a character and come up with something, or really to totally commit to a character?
The best thing, though, Steve, is you look at the best characters. The best characters are the guys that are just an extension of who they really are. You take you, for example, and I always like to take, like, you, Rock, Mick, because a lot of people have taken credit for, wasn't for me, there wouldn't be a Stone Cold. Wasn't for me, there wouldn't be a Rock. Wasn't for me, there wouldn't be a Mick Foley and all this shit. If it wasn't for Steve Williams, there wouldn't be a Stone Cold. Okay, because you believed it, you became Stone Cold Steve Austin. You made it work. You delivered the lines in the way that you felt. You came up and lived that gimmick. The Rock became The Rock. He had to go out there, he worked it, he delivered it, he made it work. And all the guys, the successes, the guys that really make it to the top are only extensions of who they truly are. And that, when they believe it, the audience believes it. It's not a stretch anymore for the audience to go, okay, this guy's playing a clown, or he's playing a Pied Piper or something like that, and it's not really, okay, he's playing his part. He does a good job,
right,
but he doesn't believe it.
That's the thing about it. When Matt Bourne did Doink the Clown,
the best.
Hey, man, that could have been a real shitty gimmick for the wrong cat.
Yep.
Matt Bourne worked that it was a 10 out of a 10. You couldn't have done it no better than Matt did it.
Yep. You know whose idea that was?
Whose?
Mike Hegstrand, Hawk.
Really?
Road Warrior Hawk.
Hawk came up with the Doink gimmick?
He came up with the miserable clown gimmick for Matt Bourne. Sitting in the dressing room in, I believe it was in Toronto, or, what's the town outside of Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Okay.
Nobody likes to work Hamilton.
And Matt was coming through, and Matt's sitting in the back, and he's got, he always had like that little pot-belly gut.
Yeah.
And so Matt's sitting there, he got his gut hanging out, and he's smoking a cigarette. His hair's all down, and he's just sweaty and miserable and shit.
And that's the way Matt was anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike Eggstern looks over and goes, "Hey, Pritchard, Krusty the Clown." And I'm looking at him, I go, "Oh, my God, you're right." And he says, "No, I'm serious. He's fucking Krusty the Clown." And I'm like, we're looking at him, and, I mean, he looked like Krusty the Clown. So fucking Eggstern goes into Vince and goes, "Vince, come here." And he's pointing at him and goes, "Krusty the Clown." And Vince didn't know who Krusty the Clown was.
Who's Krusty the Clown?
Yeah, oh, my God, Krusty. As we're explaining, the characteristics of Krusty the Clown and all this shit, and then there was a movie out, The Evil Clowns from Outer Space, or something like that. And I said, he's an evil clown. And that's how he became the evil clown, man. Mike Eggstern, just looking at him going, he's Krusty the Clown.
Man, that was a great gimmick. I didn't know that. It was funny because one time, back in my day, the Road Warriors, I think might have been Hawk specifically, who said, "You know what, you need to come up with your own belt. You don't need a championship belt. You need the Stone Cold belt." That's why we came out with that damn skull and rattlesnake belt. That was another Hegstrand original idea.
Hey, Mike always thought, and that was a good thing about Mike. Mike always had ideas for other guys.
Yeah. Man, he was a great guy. I miss that guy. All right, Bruce, let me stop you right there because we got to take a pause for the calls. I'm going to be back after a few words from my sponsors. Yeah, that's right. I got Bruce Prichard, a.k.a. Brother Love, on the other end of the line. Hey, you mentioned Three Cats a while ago. You mentioned my name, too. We're not going to talk about me. Let's talk about the Attitude Era. As long as you've been around, Bruce, this is my take on this, because you always hear people talk about the Attitude Era, and it's kind of defined in a 10-year period. Professional wrestlers have always had attitude. So why is the Attitude Era the Attitude Era? Because
it took the restraints off. I mean, for so long, we thought we had to be something else. We thought we had to be politically correct, even though that wasn't a term then. We had to be socially acceptable. There were things you just didn't do. It was Vince viewed himself only as a TV commentator. He viewed himself as a play-by-play guy. He didn't think that people would ever accept him as the owner of the company or as a character other than a play-by-play guy. And he never wanted to be a character. You remember how we used to fight to get him to do stuff?
But talk about the evolution of the Vince McMahon character, because we were talking about this the other day on the phone.
Yeah, it was driving down the road, going to Madison Square Garden, Pat Patterson driving, me in the front seat.
And to hold on, Bruce, before you go into the story, back in the day, to the listeners of the show that don't know, Vince McMahon used to be the commentator. What would it be, play-by-play or color?
He was the play-by-play guy.
Play-by-play guy. And I loved his announce style. Sometimes, as you did your impersonations the other day, sometimes it can be way over the top. But, he always knew the bottom line. He knew the angle. He knew where everything was going. I really loved his style. Give me one.
Never called a hold.
Yeah, no. But,
oh, my. What a maneuver. And then from there, oh, look at that. Jesse. No, Jesse, come on.
It was great. I loved it.
He was so hokey. But, I mean, that's how he viewed himself, is that guy. And we're driving down the road, and it's Jerry Jarrett and Vince in the back seat. And Jerry Jarrett used to promote in Nashville and the Memphis territory.
USWA.
Probably one of the most despised people, the business has ever known. And I started laughing, and Vince was like, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "Well, just find it funny that Pat and I are riding in the car with probably the two most hated motherfuckers this business has ever known."
Meaning Vince and Jerry Jarrett.
Vince and Jarrett.
Yeah.
Well, Vince just thought that was the funniest thing. He's laughing about it and everything. And
Vince doesn't give a shit about nothing.
Nobody hates me. I don't know of one person. I said, well, hell, Jerry, just look at a roster for anybody who's ever worked for you. There's the list. But it was, Vince didn't really want to be a character. His job and how he saw it was to get talent over. And that was the extent of it. He didn't think that people cared about the owner. But as the audience got more sophisticated, and the audience, they knew that Vince was the boss. And they started, when Vince, we don't know what President Jack Tunney's going to do with this. It's like, fuck you, Vince. You're the boss. Of course you know. You're telling him what to do. So it was a natural transition. And then with Montreal, when, who screwed Brett, he was made. He was made. Then it comes along this, bald-headed rattlesnake that didn't give a shit about anybody and defied authority, that up until that point, your baby face was red, white, and blue, milk toast. By God, you want your son to grow up to be him, and you want your daughter to grow up to marry him. All of a sudden, here's this hero who says, fuck you, literally and figuratively, to the boss that everybody wants to do, but nobody has the balls to do. So all of a sudden they can live vicariously through this hero who is the anti-hero. So it was just a complete different change in philosophy. You had Mankind, who was, for all intents and purposes, this horrible, evil creation that became this lovable character that everybody got behind.
Right.
And you want to know how and when I knew that The Rock was getting over?
When?
When this guy named Stone Cold came up to me and says, hey, goddamn, a guy goes out here, raises an eyebrow, says a couple cute little rhymes and shit, that don't mean he's going to get over. Because when he got on your radar, enough to say something about it, when the boys started talking about it, and the boys started, taking note of shit, then you knew they were getting over. I'll never forget it. I looked at and I was like going, all right, it's working. It's working. Yep. But it was, that Attitude Era, it was different than anything that had been done up until that point. And it was so believable. And it was believable because you made it believable. It was believable because you had workers like Triple H and fucking Mick and Rock that went out and could go every night. That was the difference, man. Our guys worked. Our guys went out every night and left it in the ring.
Hey, you brought up the Montreal screw job. What was your take on that whole shenanigan?
My take on it was...
How much can you speak on that in depth?
Well, my take on I didn't know about it till it happened. I really didn't.
Straight up. For a shoot.
For a shoot, yeah. I didn't know about it till it happened.
Oh.
Did not know.
So, okay, so there you are. You're on the inside. The gig goes down. Brett taps out. Shawn wins. What were you thinking?
Well, I was at the gorilla position, and Owen and Bulldog were in front of me. They were getting ready to go out and do a run-in.
Now, were they there because they were going to do a run-in, or they smelled a rat?
Yeah, they were going to do a run-in. We were waiting for the cue for them to go do a run-in.
Okay.
Hunter in China had already gone out.
So what happened?
And they were sitting there, and the bell rang, and I'm, looking, because it wasn't what I thought was going to happen. And I'm like, who the hell rang, who rang the bell? And they come back, and we're looking, and, and Shawn rolls out, he's got the belt, and Bulldog, they just fucked Brett. Owen, they just fucked Brett. And what the fuck do we do? I said, well, I guess go out there. I don't know. And so, they went out there and shit, and it was a little surreal. Look, I think it was the right thing to do because Brett really didn't give us much choice. I know Brett believes in his stance, but at the end of the day, the business is work. You win them in the ring, you lose them in the ring, and if he wasn't willing to do that, then they had to do whatever they had to do to get it done.
Right.
And I applaud Vince for having the balls to do it. I applaud Shawn for having the balls to do it. That ain't an easy, man. That's not an easy spot to be in.
No, it's a tough spot to be in.
And that's what people forget sometimes. It's like, okay, well, Shawn, you little bastard for doing that. It's like, well, you know what, man? What about what kind of nuts it takes to actually go do that, and they have to come back in the locker room and face everybody. And it was just, it was necessary. It was an unfortunate deal, but it was a necessary thing to do, I think, for the business at the time. It didn't really leave us any choice. But that was the beginning. That was the beginning of the Mr. McMahon character. That was the beginning of painting Vince in a different position. All of a sudden now he stopped being play-by-play guy, and now he's coming out more as the owner and the boss and the guy that calls the shots.
What were you thinking when the John Stossel thing went down with Dr. D? I always like to get different guys' takes on this.
Oh, when I saw it, I thought it was great. From my vantage point, I thought it was great. He was laughing at the business.
Yeah.
John Stossel was.
Yeah.
And when, David Schultz did what everybody wanted to do. Cost him a lot of money, but I thought that at the time, guys used to love to do that smart ass, so, hey,
yeah.
Tell me, is it fake? Fuck you. Is this fake? And see what happens. But yeah, I enjoyed it from my vantage point.
It was interesting. What did you think when Vince finally decided to go the vein of sports entertainment? Hey, we're WWE, we're sports entertainment, we're not really real. Basically, we came out of the closet, so to speak, and said, hey, we're work, to get away from all the athletic commissions and paying all that bullshit money.
Right, but also, I mean, you're just being honest with your audience.
Oh, yeah, I get that, but where was your head at the time we were doing it? Because you're old school. You come up with Bosch.
Oh, man, there was a part of me that hated it.
Yeah.
But then there was also the part of me that it made it easy. It made it easier to do what we do.
I agree.
Because now it's like, okay, I always hate the word fake, because what we do in the ring is not fake.
Mm.
It hurts like hell. It's real. It may be choreographed. It may be, it's not even really choreographed. You got the greatest athletes in the world out there dancing and doing these great athletic things that most people can't do, even great athletes.
And on top of that, tell a story.
Yes. So
then mix in some salt
in a way that most people can't. So fake always bothered me.
Right.
Because it's not fake. It's very real in many ways.
I thought it gave, it was easier to do many more angles or push the envelope without insulting your fan base's intelligence.
Yes.
That's what I liked about it.
And it just opened the door, and like I said, it made it just that much easier for people to accept what we were putting out there.
Hey, what's the hottest angle you can remember?
Wow. Back in the old days, Gino Hernandez and Jose Lothario, Jose Lothario was the Mexican just legend in Houston, Texas, man. Big, red-hot baby face. And Gino Hernandez was the up-and-comer that Jose had trained and brought along. And Gino turned on him. Just started having a shitty attitude and then turned on his mentor. Broke his arm, shaved his head. I mean, that was the hottest from the old days. But, you move forward. You go in the 80s. Savage Hogan was great shit.
Right.
That was really good stuff because there was a sense of reality to it. There was always a professional jealousy there, and that worked. It felt real.
Right.
Austin McMahon.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the other one, okay? And correct me if I'm wrong. Remember the early days, man, of Triple H and The Rock? When Hunter used to go out there with DX and they would stand in the ring and Rock would stand up on the stage and they would have their, quote, scripts, and Hunter would go off script and just hit the digs with Rock, and Rock would stand there and he would, by golly, I'm going to hit my script type thing, and then come back and go, what the fuck? And I remember saying the same thing to you at one point. It was like, you know what? We're live. I mean, we can't edit it. But he knows we're live. He's going to come back. He's going to take his ass chewing from Vince. You'll say, hey, no, I stayed on script. I did what I was told. But you look like a dick doing it because he one-upped you. And then Rock went out there with that attitude of, okay, you want to play? Let's play. And it became real because there was the real. They were both fighting for the same spot.
Right.
And it came across in their promos. It came across in their matches because they always wanted to one-up the other one.
You still watch the show currently?
Yeah, I do. I admittedly, I fast-forward through it a lot now. But I'm a fan, man. I love wrestling. So, it's kind of hard to just go cold turkey. There was a point where I didn't watch it for like a year and then got back in it and was shocked a little bit. But, no, I still watch it, yeah. I just love wrestling. I mean, I like to watch shit.
Well, I mean, I say the same thing, but when you were down at TNA, how long were you there for in total?
Let's see, October 2010 till July 2013.
Dude, what happened?
Just, it was one of those deals where we reached a point, they gave me an ultimatum, and I made my choice. I couldn't do what they were asking me to do, and it was like either do what they were asking me to do or kind of move on. So I kind of moved on.
Well, what was the atmosphere as far as protocol or how to go about, running the TV show versus compared to WWE over there?
Night and day. It's completely different because in TNA, it was a lot more relaxed atmosphere. The inmates kind of ran the asylum a little bit, no pun intended. And you had a lot of young talent that had never been produced before. And they're going off in directions that they feel may be good, but there's no one either pulling them back or pushing them out, one way or the other, giving them feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. So you had a lot of guys that came back that thought everything they were doing all along was just the greatest thing in the world. And all of a sudden, it's when I came in there, as you know, I can be a little vocal. I started trying to produce the guys and change some of it and give them immediate feedback as soon as they came back, and just tried to help them. Less is more a lot of times.
So talent comes back through the curtain. You start dropping some 411 on them. How does this meet?
Man, some guys took it well. Some guys didn't take it so well.
So give me a boo-boo face scenario. I mean,
well, a boo-boo face scenario, and again, when you're in the heat of the moment and you're doing live TV and you're trying to give guys feedback, and if something, and again, I'll go back to if something is the shit, sometimes you just got to say, that was the shit.
Right.
What the fuck were you thinking? And no one had ever talked to them like that there before. I think guys are used to coming back and people patting them on the ass and go, oh, goddamn, that was great, man. Oh, you're the best. It was really good. It was really cool after you did those 14 moves. And as a matter of fact, and I won't mention names here, but I had a guy that came back one time, and it was his return, and he gets in the ring, and we'd shot an angle where the heels had taken him out, and he had been gone for like 6 months. And he comes back in the ring, and he's making his big return, and he comes back, and he goes in the ring, walks right across the ring, completely ignoring the heel in the ring, the guy that took him out.
Yeah.
Completely ignores him, walks right by him, goes to the top rope, raises his hand looking out at the crowd. Walks back over to another corner, goes to another corner. Never acknowledges the heel standing in the ring. So when he came back, I jumped both their asses. Because, A, the babyface shouldn't have shit on the heel and done that. B, the heel, if the babyface did do that to him, should have jumped his shit.
Right.
So the babyface looks at me and says, well, you heard the crowd. And besides, Austin used to do that. And I blew a gasket. I said, no, motherfucker, go back and watch. Austin never took his fucking eyes off of his opponent. Austin walked in the ring, gave the fucking heel, go fuck yourself look, went up to the top rope, and never took his eye off the guy in the fucking ring if the guy stayed in the ring. If the guy went out of the ring, he still kept his eye on him. And then when he walked across, he gave that bad motherfucker walk and went across the other ring. But never, he sold the heel.
Right.
That way, that heel meant something when he whipped his ass. But you walked out there and just shit all over the heel, shit all over the program, and the heel, you let him shit on you.
Did they get it?
No. Some do, some don't. But when they said, well, Stone Cold Steve Austin did it, I about blew a fucking gasket. Because those are nuances that people don't always get. To him, all you did was go up to the top rope and got the cheers.
Yeah, he didn't get the rest of it. He didn't get that 1,000-yard stare I was giving that guy from 15 feet away.
Never, and you never lost it.
Right. Hey, we were talking the other day. We should have been recording that conversation as well. And, when you go out to, execute a match, you have a fishbone of things, and things kind of fall in line, and there's psychology, and it all depends on, where you are, what's happening in the story, or whether it's just a straight up, first time a heel and a baby I've met. But there's the part of that match called the finish. And when you go to the finish room, there's a certain language that is used. For some reason, Bruce, in the business of professional wrestling, you cannot go over a finish without using damn near every single cuss word invented. Am I correct, and why is this?
You are correct, because, you see, the word fuck can be used as a verb. It can be used as a noun. It can be used as an adjective. It can be used as a pronoun. Because when you hit the fucking ring and you fucking nail the motherfucking heel, you fucking slide back into the fucking ring, and then you fucking walk around the goddamn ring, and fuck you, you son of a bitch. You get your shit in, and then you fucking come back. Don't
hit that motherfucker once. Hit that motherfucker again. Then go get that goddamn bell and hit that other son of a bitch. And
you get on top of him and it's king, fuck you, you asshole piece of shit. And then you fucking fire back up. And they don't get it. I had one guy that told me, after I was done, he just looked at me, cold stare, and just said, Bruce, do you always use that F word as much all the time? I said, which fucking F word are you fucking talking about? What the fuck? But when you get around a wrestling ring or in a locker room, it's the language.
It is the language, but it's also, man, when you're getting down to the nitty-gritty of a finish, that's when you're really trying to play upon human emotion. You're trying to pull on heartstrings. You're trying to piss people off. You want people to give a flying fuck. And so it almost becomes a very concentrated issue of specificity, of four-letter words that emphasize how fucking important this last bit of this motherfucker is.
Yes. And you talk about finish guys. The best fucking finish guy in the business, Pat Patterson. But you know why Pat was the best?
Why's that?
Because Pat didn't just care about the finish. What was the one question Pat Patterson would always ask you is he would come back and go, okay, what do you got for a finish? You'd give him a finish, and he'd look at you and go, okay, how are you going to get into that?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have that, your finish didn't mean shit.
Right.
And that was the beauty. It was like, you'd sit there and guys would come on, I've got a great finish. Here's the finish. Bing, bing, bing. Okay, that's good. What do you do before that? Huh? Oh.
What was it about, Pat? Because I heard Eddie Graham was a great finish guy down in Florida as well. Did you ever get a chance to work with Eddie?
I never did. No, never met him.
I heard so much about him, and he was really technical about getting into it as well. But Pat Patterson is kind of, regarded as the best finish guy in the business.
Well, Pat got to work with Roy Shires. Roy Shires was the promoter and booker out in San Francisco. And Roy was an old-timer, man, and Roy had the reputation for a great finish guy and a hard-nosed booker.
Right.
But he came from that same school of Eddie Graham, Bill Watts, and those guys. But Pat did work with Eddie Graham. But I just think Pat, the way that he gets into things, he always tries to make it different. He always tries to tell you a story. And if he can't explain what he's doing and why he's doing it, and if it doesn't make sense to him, fuck it, throw it out. And that was the beauty, man. We used to go, this is a great Pat Patterson story. We used to go to the house shows, and we would go in and buy a ticket, me and Pat. We'd go buy a ticket, sit in the audience, baseball cap on, and we'd just sit there and talk to people that bought tickets to our shows. Find out who their favorites were. What are you here to see tonight? Who's your favorite? Who do you hate? What do you like? What don't you like? And we would sit in the crowd and listen to people talking around us. They didn't know who the hell we were. And we'd watch the show. Now, then we'd go back, and every night we got a report, that the agents would give on what happened at the event. Well, we had done this a couple times. We get back, and we look at the report the next day, And I don't know what show they were fucking at, but it didn't resemble anything that we had seen the night before. And so we're like, okay, look, man, we said we're going to do the whole run. We're going to do the run. We're not going to get involved. We're going to evaluate it afterwards. Second night, we're sitting there. Second match is in the ring. Pat's like, fuck it, I can't do it anymore. This show, it sucks. Fuck it, I'm going back. I'm changing everything. Pat and I marched to the back. He tore up the lineup. He changed shit. And he goes, hey, you're going to go out, and you're going to go out there, and you're going to do this, and then you're going to lay there like a douchebag. And then when you think you've laid there too long, I want you to lay there even longer, like a piece of shit. Just lay there. And then when you think that you've laid there too long and you've been a piece of shit, a fucking douchebag, and you think, oh, my God, they're dead, they're going to come. And when they come, you lay there like a piece of shit. And he just had a way. He would feel it, and he's giving you the finish. He's living it.
Yeah.
And we would go back, man, and Pat he had had enough. He was like, these guys, Vince and Pat, they'd give the agents what they wanted for that night, and it was up to them to deliver it, communicate that to the talent and do the show. And you'd read the report, and it was a glowing report. Every night was, the best show on earth.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, we're sitting there going, God damn, this sucks.
But you know what the thing about Pat is? Pat had that, I don't know, he was like Einstein with math equations or something like that, but he also had just intense passion for the business. Yes. He could be out there, because he'd be out there watching the show, like you said, and he would come back, or I'd be sitting there watching something beside him. I'd look over, and he's crying, because what he's seeing is moving him, and that's how much he loves the business. And, of course, every now and then you get a tear in your eye as well, because, there's certain things that are so powerful in that ring that you're hooked in, hook, line, and sinker. And Pat was that guy, man, and he didn't give a shit. He'd cry, oh, Steve, I'm so proud of those guys. And it's like, he truly, he just lives, eats, and breathes the business.
But, people would ask me sometimes, what did you have more fun doing? Did you have more fun performing, or did you have more fun working behind the scenes? The difference is when you're out there performing, you're performing as your character, you're doing one character, you're doing one thing. When you're a producer and you get to write the shit, you get to book it, and you get to lay it all out, you get to be all the characters.
Right.
And I loved that part of it. I loved being Stone Cold and then being Mr. McMahon.
Do you think the business has lost a little bit of its edge, quite frankly?
Yes. I think it's too scripted. I think that it's not allowing talent to go out, be themselves, and being able to find themselves.
I agree with that.
I think that, sometimes we've taken away the ability to just go out, feel, and create, and see what happens. Take a chance.
Man, it's such a different system these days. And coming up back in the day when you did, and watching your brother Tom pay the dues that he did versus getting into the business these days, what do you think?
I just,
drastically different landscape.
Whole
drastically different system.
Completely, it's just a different animal.
Back then you didn't walk on eggshells, Bruce. I mean, you had respect for your veterans, but you better come in there ready to do some business and be ready to go, because if you're mild-mannered motherfucker or you had thin skin, you were in for a real long haul or a short career.
Yeah, big time.
But you had to be aggressive. You couldn't just lay back and lollygag around or pussyfoot around or worry about pissing somebody off or stepping on someone. I just think the system now, I think guys walking on eggshells a little bit too much to be, to the point.
Well, okay, but also, you look back in the day. You had guys that were handing you scripts and handing you things. Hell, back in my day, kid, somebody asked you, had your script, but you had a handful of pills. Now they got that piece of paper, bunch of words on it. Somebody said that to me one time.
That was after I had my neck surgery because the system had changed.
Yes. And so the difference is, though, is that you had the confidence, the wherewithal to go out, take the chance, because I remember you bitching and screaming at me about how this shit sucks. I ain't gonna fucking do it. And you throw the scripts in the fucking can, and you'd walk out, and you would do your own shit, which forced Vince to go, okay, I can't go with what I thought I was going to do. I've got to listen to him and react. And it became real.
Yeah.
So you weren't going out, okay, when I say this, you say that. It became, I need to listen to what the hell's going to come out of this goofball's mouth. And I better be listening for the comeback, because I better have a comeback ready on the heels of that. That's what made it so damn good.
That was good shit.
And so many people, a lot of guys aren't cut out for that. They can't go out and deliver the impromptu, off-the-cuff promo because they've never had to.
But, boy, would that be a great dynamic if they let people start doing that again? Because
I think it'd be awesome.
I'll get off that system, but just because, I love the business, but I see so many of these cats, and they're training them to be technical orators, great speakers. Hey, man, a great speaker don't necessarily cut a great promo that grabs someone by the damn ass or the hearts or the guts and sell tickets. Yeah. Hey, maybe this sumbitch stutters a little bit. Maybe this guy spits. Maybe this guy's got a lisp. I don't know. But when he's talking, I'm listening because there's something dynamic about that rhythm, that cadence, the delivery, the content, where it's coming from, how he's spinning it, how he sees things. Or maybe it's from down low like Jake Roberts, and it's pure evil. I don't know.
But it comes from the heart.
It's coming from the heart. But, go back to the televangelists we were talking about. How many of those stood there straight up and talked vanilla? None of them.
None.
Because that didn't hook you. That didn't grab you. That didn't sell what they were selling.
But also, what they did grabbed the non-believers, too, just to watch the performance.
Dude, I watched every Sunday night or whenever it was, just because I was hooked on the show, the presentation.
Yes. It's good shit. I wanted to see somebody lay hands on some bitch, be healed.
Well, you know what? Them some bitches flopping around for Benny Hinn. Some of them was so good you bought into it. You know what I'm saying? On the fringe. But that's how good that shit was.
Hell yes.
Shit, Robert Tilton roll his eyes back, start speaking in tongues. Holy Jesus, it's a miracle.
The other good Robert Tilton was when they exposed him on Dateline, and they said that he had people write in prayers and write in things for Robert to lay hands upon and pray to have them heal. And they found all these letters that had just been thrown in the trash in a dumpster.
In a dumpster, yeah. Ran his ass out.
They asked him about it. He says, well, what happened is when I laid hands upon them, the ink in the letters got into my skin and started to make me ill. So I would just lay upon all of them fully clothed with gloves and give my love through the envelopes.
He didn't say that.
Them.
Did he say that?
Yes. Yes. With a straight face.
I know he ended up down there in Florida. He was in Texas. He's down in Florida now.
Yes, with a big yacht.
Hey, man, we were talking great wrestling buildings earlier on in our conversation last week, and we were talking about the Houston Coliseum. Now, another great building, the Houston Summit. It's been renamed. Then they started calling it Compaq Center. I don't know what it's called today, but these days, Joel Osteen is putting $18,000 in there every Wednesday and Sunday.
No shit.
Can you believe that?
Unbelievable.
That was a great wrestling building in its own right.
Yes, it was.
Sold it out a couple times. Osteen's packing them in. How you liking his gig?
He's okay. He's a little bit too much of a babyface for me, man. He babyfaces it down, sells it too much for me. He's a little too wholesome.
Too white meat.
Yeah, I want a little dirtier edge. I think he wants to believe his shit a little bit too much. I don't believe it, but hey, that's me. I like the guys that are a little more verbose, got a little more stink on them. to get out and heal some motherfuckers and lay hands upon them and shit.
Oh man, hey, before we wrap this thing up, what does it take to sell tickets?
Passion. I think that when you get people, this is a thought process. You've got to do something to be able to get somebody to get up off their ass, buy a ticket, which means they either got to go online before they actually had to get up and go buy the ticket. Now they can go get online, but you got to get off your ass, buy a ticket, get in your car, drive to wherever the performance is, pay for parking, go on in, buy some gimmicks, buy some beer, hot dog, whatever you're going to do, and then sit down and watch an event. What's going to make you do that? And you've got to have a believable story. You have to have larger-than-life characters that people can identify with and want to be, truly want to be. And I think that there's a part of, you look at the old formula. The old formula was larger-than-life characters and guys that were not normal. That your next-door neighbor didn't look like that. And you came to see these unique talents. Man, I think it all comes back to personal issues and stories and believability.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to go and you want to be engrossed and you want to have fun. I think what WWE has right now is they've got an audience that wants to go and be a part of it. They want to chant yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
They want, like the what. They want to sing Fandango's entrance theme. They want to be a part of the show. I don't know that they're necessarily going to see Daniel Bryan kick Randy Orton's ass and become the champion. I think that they're to be a part of the show.
Right.
Which works. And obviously it works. But to get people to come out, now they're only doing it once a year. But you go back, man, we had to do it every week.
Yeah.
And what did it every week was you had believable stories that people could identify with, that they wanted to come down and they wanted to be involved in the story. They either wanted to help that heel, the babyface, defeat and overcome that heel, and they wanted to be a part of it, be satisfied, walk away with some satisfaction. And then the key was you satisfied them enough, and then you pissed them off enough to bring them back. That's what sells tickets.
You see yourself back in the wrestling business anytime soon?
You never say never. I'd love to be. I love the business. I love the business. So, you never say never, man.
I hear you, man. Well, shit. Hey, man, I've been talking to you for a long time now. I ain't mentioned at
Holy
Bruce
shit.
Prichard on Twitter hardly any. You can follow this son bitch at Bruce Prichard on Twitter.
And anybody, if you got a job for Bruce Prichard on Twitter, hell, just tweet me, and by God, I'll answer you right back. You never know.
You ain't even got to send him a kayfabe direct message. Just send him a general tweet. He will
There
answer.
you go.
Hey, Bruce, it's been good talking to you. I'm going to try to make it down to your neck of the woods over the course of deer season. So if I am, I'll head up your way, and we'll talk in person and really knock some shit out.
Love to.
Well, all right, Bruce, I appreciate it.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for joining us for another classic episode of The Steve Austin Show. Please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends. For more Steve Austin Show, go to PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
Dive into true crime on Pluto TV. Unravel the mysteries with Forensic Files and 48 Hours. Investigate crimes with Dateline 24/7 and Unsolved Mysteries. With thousands of free crime movies and TV shows, Pluto TV is the true home of crime. Download the Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices and start streaming true crime on live channels and on demand. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.
What's up, guys? I'm Brendan Schaub. If you love everything mixed martial arts, I'm talking UFC breakdowns, UFC picks, one championship picks, Bellator, PFL, you name it, your boy breaks it all down. Tune into The Schaub Show, available every Monday wherever you listen to your podcasts. The Schaub Show. Enjoy.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Big Brother Jake, a.k.a. Jake Warner, my government name. Check it out. I host a show called the Big Brother Jake Podcast, and I've taken my talents to the biggest and baddest platform on the planet. That's right, baby. PodcastOne. My show is unique as I talk about everything. Life, sports, entertainment, being a single dad juggling several jobs. I'm a hot mess, but it's damn entertaining. Subscribe and review now on Apple Podcasts and listen on PodcastOne or wherever you get your podcasts.